Welcome, everyone.
Hello.
While we are waiting for others to join, please feel free to drop into the chat where you're zooming in from today and one word to describe how you're feeling. If you know the drill, that's how I usually start. And again, we're going to wait for some folks to join. Oh, we have feeling great. That's nice.
Excellent.
Hey, we have good number. We'll just wait another moment or so. Again, welcome everyone. While we're waiting for folks to join, I'm just asking you to pop into the chat box where you're zooming in from today and how you're feeling, 1 or 2 words. Good, we're getting a lot of people here.
Great.
We have 20, so I think we can start, and I'll let people in after I do my intro. So hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Nicole Anderson, and I oversee Alumni Career Services and Career Mentoring at Tufts. And today's webinar, we have the impact of what impacts you, featuring alum Michael Bolognino of Michael Bolognino Life and Career Coaching. So some quick intro and housekeeping. We have 2 main goals in Tufts Alumni Career Programs, and those are to present programs like this one, including webinars and networking events and other events across the country and around the world. And these events and programs, webinars, are for all alums from all schools. So please check the Alumni and Friends calendar, and I'll post the link to that in the chat. Our second goal is to foster connections between alumni and students. Alumni and students can check out their school's career center, and each center has networking communities. I'll drop that link into the chat as well. So for today's webinar, we'll be presenting for about 50 minutes or so, and we will address questions during the webinar, and at the end, we'll leave time for Q&A. During the webinar, you have 2 options. You can put them in the chat box and address them to me or to everyone. Don't address them directly to Michael. I'm going to be feeding them to him, but you can also unmute yourself and ask your questions live. One of the things that we're going to try to stay away from is sort of like individual one-on-one advising, because we don't have time. So if you do have questions, you can reach out to me and or reach out to Michael after the webinar. He'll be throwing his email and his website up, I think, on one of his last slides. So yeah, we'll try to stay away from that sort of multiple questions from one person. And finally, before I introduce Michael, I want to acknowledge the Office of Alumni Engagement's community values statement. So Tufts Office of Alumni Engagement, our mission invokes an environment of mutual respect, free expression, and inquiry. Program participants accept these principles when they join this community, and in doing so, they agree by the following values: respect for the rights, differences, experiences, and dignity of others, express our viewpoints in a thoughtful and respectful manner, honesty and integrity in working with all members of the community, and accountability for personal behavior. So let me introduce our speaker today. Let me just admit the people who are waiting there so they can hear. After studying creative writing and communications media studies at Tufts, Michael spent 20 years in marketing, with the last 13 at Google, leading product and brand marketing campaigns and eventually running operations for social. Following a "why am I so unfulfilled" while working at one of the best companies in the world identity crisis in early 2018, Michael discovered that only he was in charge of his career and life. And after taking a good hard look at what really lit him up, realized that after 2 decades of marketing to people, he really wanted to find a way to work more directly with people. Later that year, Michael was certified as a co-active ICF coach and has since been helping clients discover their inner potential and make an impact on their lives, careers, and relationships. In July 2023, he resigned from Google to focus on his coaching practice. Michael lives in the Berkshires at the Filomena, a 19th century rectory that he and his husband Nick renovated and run as an occasional Airbnb and photo shoot destination. I am still looking forward to getting out there, Michael. So I'm going to hand the presentation over to Michael. Welcome, and we can't wait. I can't wait to hear
Thank you
what
so
you have
much.
to say. Okay.
Thank you. It's great to be back. Hello, everyone. I'm really glad that you're here. Thank you for spending some time with me today. So let's get right into it. Nicole gave a great overview of who I am, but I'm going to give it to you in my own words too. So like she said, I'm Michael. I grew up in Albany, New York, not far from where I am right now. I went to college in Boston, like all of you. I've lived in various places around the world, San Francisco, New York, actually around the country. I did a small stint in Milan for study abroad at my time at Tufts. And like Nicole said, I live in the Berkshires with my husband and my dogs, and I'm down to 2 chickens. I had 8 chickens, and right now we have a smaller flock, but I'm working on that. Okay, does anyone remember the days before the internet when, yes, you remember, I see a hand go up. I remember too. And does anyone remember that Tufts used to send us these books, printed out books that we would get before we got to freshman year? And you see me there in the heart looking all sharp. I don't know about you, but I spent hours and hours and hours trying to figure out who my friends would be just based on the little information that I saw there. And I'd be lying if I said I also didn't think about like who potential dates could be, but that's a different presentation. The other thing I want to point out, you probably can't read it, but in tiny print, it says that I enjoy hiking and swimming, which is true. And it also says that my major was pre-med. And the reason I'm calling pre-med out is because where I got that idea that I wanted to be a doctor had nothing to do with what I cared about, how I saw the world. At that young, tender age of 17, I did what I thought, or I signed up for what I thought my parents wanted or what society wanted, to be a doctor, right? Like the kind of like what I thought would be the pinnacle career. And we could also have a whole presentation about that. But my point is that even at age 17, this kind of concept of what do I want to do? Who do I want to be? Is a big question mark. And it's a question mark, I think, that follows us through our careers. So hopefully today we can help you get some clarity on some of those questions that you may have. And I also want to mention, I think Nicole said it, I majored in creative writing and media studies, which is interesting also because creative writing and marketing, they are tangential. But again, like life led me places versus what I actually thought. So let me tell you more about that. Here's some hopefully familiar scenes. On the left, this is the swim team. I chose Tufts. I really believe I chose it because of the swim team. I was completely charmed by the teammates, by the coach. Swimming was my life, and I went there. I think looking back because I wanted to swim, and I don't regret that decision at all. The other highlight of my time at Tufts was that picture of us in the van. We were on concert board. I don't know if that's still a thing. I really hope it's still a thing, but we had this amazing job where we got to pick who got to be the bands at Spring Fling. And it was an amazing responsibility, and it led to some really funny events, like me picking up the Sugar Hill Gang, that rap group from the 80s at the airport, just like the most random things. But anyway, swimming and concert board were instrumental for me. And I also included this picture of me and a couple of friends in Tilton Hall, which was where I lived freshman year. Okay, and Nicole didn't pay me to say this, I promise you, but without the Tufts Alumni Network and without Tufts, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I mean that 100%. The story is this. I was living in Seattle. I didn't know what I was doing with my life. I had just graduated. It was 2002. And I was on my way to work at Starbucks as a barista, and I checked the alumni network. We had a very rudimentary website back then. And there was this listing for this job at a company called Cranium. And I said to myself, oh, I've heard of that. It's a board game. And I thought, oh, it's a marketing assistant. I don't know anything about marketing, but this is really interesting to me. So I reached out and I got an email right away from the other Tufts alum named Adam Tratt. And he, in his very Adam way, said, don't do anything. Stop what you're doing. Write me a cover letter right now. Send me your resume and we'll get you an interview. And basically, I interviewed for that job and I got it. And that set off this trajectory for me where almost by accident, I ended up in marketing. And again, I have no regrets because it led me to where I am sitting right now. So thank you, Tufts Alumni Network, for what I consider a real success story. Okay, so briefly, in terms of my work experience, my first job was at my family deli in Albany. It was in my family for 75 years. My job was arranging the bread, and then I eventually worked up to being a cashier. After that, after Cranium in Seattle, I worked at a bunch of startups. And then I got the opportunity to interview at Google, and I made it my mission in life to get that job. I got the job. I worked there for 13 years. We'll talk about that later on in the presentation. And in that time, I decided that it wasn't enough for me to be just having a corporate job. So my husband and I bought this falling down house in the Berkshires, renovated it and turned it into an Airbnb. And that has had its own kind of lifespan too. And I consider that to be part of my career. And then this last picture is my headshot from my coaching business. So after all of this, in last July, like Nicole said, I resigned from my job at Google. I had been coaching for years on the side, and I decided that it was time to go, and I was ready to make it happen. And so I've been coaching ever since. And this is the question that I get asked all the time, constantly. What kind of coach are you? Are you an executive coach, a life coach, a career coach, a leadership coach? There are so many flavors. And what I've learned after these 5 years is that I'm a human coach. And that sounds like a cop-out, but I promise you it's not a cop-out. And I tell this story, sometimes I set it up like a joke. An opera director, veterinarian, marketing manager, professional skateboarder, lawyer, and photographer walk into a bar. And no, it's not a joke. That actually, there's two things that unite all those people that I just described. One, they all have the universal truth that they share, and two, they're all my clients. And the truth that unites them is simple. There's somewhere along their path where they're stuck, where they're unclear, or they want more. They've got whiffs of what could be possible or different, but they aren't totally sure how to get there. And that's where I come in. So basically, that is in a nutshell how I describe what kind of coach I am. Okay. Any questions so far before I move into the impact presentation?
I don't see any yet. So again, for questions, you can either unmute yourself or throw them into the chat and I can read them to Michael. But don't necessarily raise your hand because I can't see everyone. So.
Okay. All right. Well, let's continue. So I want to co-design this and all that. It's a lot of words just to say it's a safe place. I'm going to do a lot of talking, but I don't want to talk at you. So I do want to hear from you. And we're going to go through a bunch of examples from my own journey that led me here that I'm hoping you can take away something from. So let's make it a conversation. And at the end, we'll have a proper chat. Okay. So if we zoom out, what are we going to go over today? It's about how to make the most of your work and most importantly, do it in a way that's fulfilling and also building towards something bigger for yourself. So how to make the most of it in a fulfilling way that's always active and building to something bigger. And I want to start with the word impact, which is in the title of this workshop. And I want to ask you, what does impact mean to you in the context of work? What does impact look like? Making impact or impact in general. Anyone have any answers?
Nothing in the chat yet.
That's okay. All right, we're warming up still. I'm going to tell you, it's kind of a trick question. A lot of the ways that we frame impact look like this. Oh, okay, Lauren, thank you. Feeling it like your work matters. Absolutely. That is definitely impactful.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. That's a great example. I think a baseline when we think of the impact at work broadly, we're thinking about results. I know at Google, it was all about OKRs. It was all about metrics. It was all about how many people were downloading the apps. And we get judged for our promotions and for our reviews and for our bonuses based on how we make impact on the company, right? And move the business forward. But my theory is that if we only focus on the impact that's outward on the business, right? We're missing a ton of critical data that can make you stronger and happier and more fulfilled if we understand what impacts us about our work. So the tenet of this concept is that the more we can connect to what impacts us about our work, the more impact we can have via our work. It's that simple in my mind. And I want to say it again. The more we can connect to what impacts us about our work, the more impact we can have via our work. This talk is designed to give you tools to look beyond the results, to understand and really take a look at what is it about the things that I do, the things that I love to do, whether they're at work or outside of work, that really light me up. And how can we use those to make my work a more fulfilling place, to make me more successful, to make me feel more satisfied. Okay.
Oh,
And
Michael, we have a couple more people
oh,
posting that having a positive effect on society.
absolutely.
And then let's see, now they're coming in. Achieving predefined goals that
Yeah.
meaningfully benefit A, an organization, B, an individual, depending where the goals can apply. And last one, being true to your authentic self and goals, inspiring others through that.
These are excellent answers, and they also give me an indication that these folks are thinking in line with this presentation. So it's about, well, I guess it depends on their values, but if it's about society, it's a value of yours that's important is impacting the world, right? Being authentic, if that's a value, that's showing up in your work. So you're onto something. So that's really good. How will we know we're successful? It's simple. The next time that you're thinking about your work in the shower, if you're asking yourself what impacted me about my work today versus how is this project going to deliver or what results will I have, I will consider that we're successful. Okay. And to get to understanding fulfillment and to get clarity, we have to start with where we're struggling. It's something that we don't often look at. I think we often ruminate about things we're struggling on, but my invitation to you is to actually really go closer and try to figure out where am I stuck so that you can take some power away from that and you can get a lot of data that will help you figure out what impacts you. So it comes down for me to an S word. There's a lot of S words related to this. I said struggling, there's stress, like whatever, but there's an S word in particular that I want to bring up here that I think holds us back and is an indication that we're misaligned. Can anyone guess what the S word is? It's not shit either, just in case that wasn't clear.
Stuck. Success. Should.
Sucharita got it. It should. I mean, all these things are real, but Sucharita got it. Nice job. That's the answer. Should. Should is a dirty word, I think, because oftentimes should is based on expectations that either we create for ourselves, that our families create for us, that our culture creates, that our leadership creates, or sometimes we have no idea what we even want or how to prioritize it, and we create all these things that we should be doing, and that blocks us from moving forward. Some examples of this could be, I should be making more money. I should be a VP by now. I should quit this job and buy a llama farm. Like literally, all those things are considered to be shoulds. Is anyone brave enough to tell me one of their shoulds that they are ruminating about these days? It's okay. I'm going to tell you mine. Okay. We'll get there. So in my opinion, in order to neutralize shoulds, we have to ask questions about these areas where we're stuck. So let's look at one of my big shoulds. This was me in 2018. My should was, I am a creative person who should be working on creative work, but I'm stuck doing partnerships with phone manufacturers and being the opposite of creative. So in this case, my should was, I should be being more creative. I should be doing work that is more inspiring, and I'm stuck. That was my big should. At this time, I had a reorg. They had put me on this team that limited what I could do, and it just was not working for me. So if I had the experience I have now, I would have asked myself 3 questions to try to neutralize that should. The first question is it or is part of it in my control? Another one is, what are the actual thoughts surrounding it? What are those ruminations? What am I repeating to myself? And this is the most important one. How do I want it to be different? So let's look at my answers here. If I am a person who should be working on creative work, is it part of my control? At first, I thought it wasn't. I was in a system with a manager and an HR team and a structure. And yes, I had to navigate all that. But the truth in the end was that it was in my control, and we'll get to that. But at the time, I didn't go deep enough. And then second, it really, for me, it was that I had to reimagine how and where to find creativity and how to approach things and how to search for things and ask for things that would give me that. So first thing, is it part of my control or is it in my control? Second, what are those thoughts surrounding it? For me, it was, I'm totally stuck in a role that's not a fit. I'm miserable and being underutilized. My creative skills are being wasted. Maybe I'm not actually creative. Like there I am kind of sabotaging myself. Maybe I'm not actually creative or people aren't seeing my value. And the point with this question is really kind of exhausting it, and power can get taken away when you name something. It's true. Hopefully you've done it and tried it, but if you name something, it can make it a lot less scary because then it gives you a way to see that it's outside of you and it's something that you can address. And then the third big question, how do I want it to be different? So my answer in 2018 would have been, I want to feel more connected to my creativity. I want to be happier at work. I want to feel valued and seen for my contribution. I want to know and be able to articulate what I'm good at. Those were the questions that I think had the most information or would give me a map to start to figure this out. And so that's why it's really, really important that we ask ourselves these questions. And why are blockers relevant to understanding impact? Why are shoulds and neutralizing them important? Because like I just said, it helps us see more clearly. It starts giving us pointers. If we know that these things are scaring us, or if we're fearful about certain things, how do we name them? How do we adjust ourselves? And how do we go after what we actually need to do in order to feel more fulfilled? Okay. And again, like it's all about releasing them. It's all about making room so that we can start to look at, okay, what do I actually love about what I do? And that's what we're going to get into now. And so as a recap, using these questions, I want this to be one little tool that you take away. The first question is it or part of it in my control? If it is yes, definitely go deeper. And if it's no, go deeper too. Because if it's not in your control, you may research it or go into it and realize it is, or it may mean that you have to figure out how you're going to adapt versus make a big change. Second question, what are the actual thoughts? Be honest and profuse, get it all out, be exhaustive. And the third one, how do I want it to be different? Emphasis on be. This is not what is my dream job. That is not the question. The question is, how do I want it to be different? How do you want to feel? How do I want to feel? Okay. So unfortunately, I didn't neutralize my big should. And it got pretty dangerous for me. I got trapped and I had a crash, a very real crash. Basically, Nicole alluded to it in the opener, but I had this moment where I thought, I'm working at Google. It's an amazing company. It's doing amazing things. It has amazing benefits. And I feel like garbage and unfulfilled every day. What is wrong? What is wrong with me? Why can't I change it? They're telling me they're going to help me. They're telling me they're going to get me a promotion. They're telling me that there's this other job around the corner. It's not happening. And it started seeping into everything. I started being not a great fiance. I started being physically inactive and gaining weight. I was unhealthy. It was just a really dark time. And actually, thankfully, my husband and fiance at the time, I give him credit for snapping me out of this because it got real. He said to me, look, if you don't figure this out, I don't know how we're going to get married. Like, I don't think I can marry you. And when I heard that, that was enough. That was all that I had to hear. And so I dug a little bit deeper and I realized that even though my manager or the company has good intentions, at the end of the day, it's still a business. And no matter how great they are, no one's in charge of my destiny at work except me. They play a role and the system plays a role, but the course that I'm on is up to me. And I knew I had to make a big change, but I had no idea where to start because I had spent so much time in the should place with my head down, being like, this is bad, I hate it, I'm being underutilized. Okay. So then I said to myself, you know what? I want to marry this guy. I want to get my life back on track. What do I actually want? Where do I start? And so I was sitting at an offsite at Condé Nast, and it was about advertising or something. And they gave us these little notepads, and I was so bored and I was miserable because they were talking about all these things like, you know, advertising rates of return and all this stuff. And I'm thinking like, this is just even more pushing me into that. You're in the wrong place, wrong place. So I just got out this little scrap piece of paper and I wrote 2 columns, things I like and things I'm good at. And as you can see, the list is all over the place. Like tarot is on there as the first one, tarot card reading, jewelry, estate sales, connecting with people, building homes, hunting and curating for, vintage things, and then things I'm good at, cooking, advice. That's interesting that that's in there. Even though coaches don't give advice, the intention was the same. Communication, etc. So this was a start for me. It was just my first gasp at, well, what if I look inside? Like, what do I like and what am I good at? So I started Scrappy. But those things aren't enough. You really have to go farther and understand why. Why does that matter to me? What lights me up about that? What is it? And so at the Google office in Chelsea Market, I booked a conference room with a whiteboard and I sat down and I gave myself 45 minutes. And I said, I'm just going to write down all the projects that I've done at Google, outside of Google, before Google. And I'm going to write down the ones that stand out to me. And then I'm going to look at them and figure out what it was about them that lit me up. And so I asked myself 3 questions. Why were they my favorite projects? What lit me up about doing them? And what was I most proud of? And it was literally this simple. It was just a 2-part table with the project on one side. And then I just dumped out a list of all the things that meant something to me about those projects. So I'm going to show you what I mean by this in practice. So the first project that came to mind for me actually was before Google. This was back in 2008 on what I thought was a magical day. Obama won the presidency, but the same day Proposition 8 passed in California that banned gay marriage. So it was a real bittersweet kind of a day. And I was working at a company that made wikis. It was when Web 2 was a real craze. And a wiki is basically an online community. And I remember hearing about this woman trying to make protests happen. And she was struggling to figure out how to get the word out. She wanted it to be national and global. And so it was a Saturday and my in-laws were at my house and I just decided to lock myself in a room. And I created a very basic community where people could post information about like a rally or a protest in their town. And basically it blew up and became something that created 400 rallies around the world and a million people were protesting. And it wasn't all from me, but the part that was for me was that I saw this opportunity to kind of create this community. So this stuck out to me as a banner example of something that had impacted me. So I looked at it and I asked myself, okay, why? Well, first, gay rights are really important to me. It's personal to me. I'm gay. This was a big deal for me. I wanted to advocate for it. Second, I liked being hands-on. I liked making a tool that other people could use. Third, it made a difference to people and it was bigger than me. Fourth, I saw an opportunity to simplify what someone else was doing. I love to help. I love to simplify. 5, it was something for other people to experience. And the last one was it got press coverage and it helped my little startup company. And so I said to myself, okay, well, if I'm going to do this across multiple projects, let me see if I can come up with some categories for each one to see if I can start to find some themes. And so I went for it and I said, okay, gay rights are important to me. It's a personal passion. I like being hands-on. That's building and creating. I like having real impact on human beings, on other people. I really like helping. Again, here's real impact on other people again. And accolades, like I'm not ashamed to say, I like that we got a New York Times article. I like that it made my startup look good. Like that is valid and that is an important piece of what impacts me about my work. The second project that I thought of, this one was done probably in 2012 or 2014 or something like that. And it was a really fun one. Our problem at Google Docs was that a lot of techie people, a lot of male people were using Google Docs outside of work, and my team was consumer apps, and we wanted everyone to use Google Docs outside of work. And so the assignment was, how do we get women interested in using Google Docs? So the idea that we had was to pair up 2 artists, one of whom is Lizzo, and she was not Lizzo of today then, but it was kind of a happy accident that we hired her. But we paired up these 2 female artists and we challenged them to write a song in Google Docs without meeting each other. And then we flew them to Brooklyn. They recorded the song and we put it out as a single on Google Play. And it achieved the goal because we got articles in places about docs where women are reading. We got articles in the music industry, like in Rolling Stone and things like that. So it was a success in that regard. So I did the same thing. And I asked myself, okay, what was it about this project that was a standout for me? One, I'm a huge music fan. Two, the song had a message that I believed in. Three, the music business I knew nothing about. I was always interested in it, but I had no idea how it worked. Four, we created a song and a behind the scenes video. I love producing work, producing art. I liked managing agencies and internal stakeholders. There were about 1 million people that had to approve this. It had to do with music rights and all that. And then we also addressed the problem that the product was having. And so I did the same thing. And I said, okay, well, what are the themes? And the first theme that I came up with was that is a personal passion. The second, real impact. There it is again. The music business being a new territory, it was a stretch for me. I wanted to explore something new. We created a song and made a behind the scenes video. That's building and creative again. I loved managing agencies and the internal stakeholders. That was leadership. And we addressed the problem that Docs was having. That was creative problem solving, in my opinion. Okay, so I think you get the idea. And much like in life, a single partner can't give you everything. And so even a place as rich as Google, it was important to me to look outside of it, because I believe that outside work feeds inside work. And so I had to look there too, because, for me, being fulfilled is not just a work concept. Being fulfilled is a life concept. And so I had to look outside of the office walls and figure out what lights me up out there too. And so the answer there is renovating my house with my husband. And the short story is that we spent 2 years doing this. We didn't know what we were doing. We used a lot of YouTube videos for help. We basically supported the hardware store, I think, single-handedly for those 2 years here in town. And we renovated this place and eventually turned it into a business. And again, you know what I'm going to do. I listed out what it was about it that really turned me on. I love a big, hairy challenge. And we had no idea what we were doing, and that was a big challenge. The goal was to share it with others eventually. We wanted to create a space that other people could enjoy. I loved and at times didn't get along with my coworker / husband. There was something important there to me about building that relationship, the good parts and the hard parts. I enjoyed managing the budgets and orders and the contractors and all that. I was thrilled to work with my hands and to create things. And finally, we supported the local community, not just the hardware store, but the sandwich shop, all these places and the local community. So again, for me, stretching, a stretch opportunity, that's a value, a tenet of mine. Having real impact, it's there in all of my projects, all of these, like some kind of real impact on a human. It was a team project. I love collaboration. I love leadership. It was building and creating. There's that as again. It was a creative outlet, made me feel creative. And finally, it had real impact again in how we supported the community. So from this exercise, this is an oversimplification, by the way, but from this exercise, I did this with about 6 different projects. I was able to come up with these 4 tenets. And these tenets have proven to be extremely helpful for me, and I'll tell you why in a second. But basically, what I learned about myself was that one thing that unites me across all my work, one thing that impacts me across all my work, is this idea of building, creating, and making, having real impact on real people, channeling chaos into some kind of order, and then leadership. And so then you may be asking me, okay, so you have these tenets. What good are tenets? What do you do with them? And the answer is there's a ton of benefits to knowing these tenets. The first one, you get clarity. You can speak to and articulate what it is that impacts you. That's what I'm ahead of myself. But basically, it gives you an articulation, which is super valuable in so many ways, because it gives you a way in interviews, for example, to speak to past projects. It's a handy tool for writing your resume, for your performance review, for development plans, to figure out your next move. There's so many benefits to being able to articulate what it is about your work that impacts you. And I think another thing I want to point out, which is part of this first bullet, is it helped me with recall. Like when I wanted to remember, when you're in an interview and you get asked a specific example of XYZ thing, after doing this exercise, I had a bank of specific examples that I could turn to. So it was really helpful for that purpose. All right. And then it was helpful also on my resume, right? So this is my Google resume. We had internal resumes at that place. And the way it was helpful is I was able to create a single paragraph that outlined for anyone reading it what is important to me and what my value is. So I wrote, when I look back across my work over the last 15 plus years at the projects that I consider have been the most successful and rewarding, a through line of 4 key themes emerged. Real impact on real people, building, creating, making, channeling chaos into order, and leading a team. So this is one example of how you can take these tenets and then turn them into an articulation or a story. This can be the start of the story that you tell at work, outside of work, and it can be a story that helps guide you as you make decisions about your moves and where you want to go with your life. And then you'll see below that paragraph, I also listed out some of the projects. So again, like it gave me a language, it gave me examples, it gave me a way to show my value by expressing what made value to me, what impacted me. And it got me out of that rut that I was in. My husband and I got married because I was able to get my act together. And the way that I did that is I went to my boss and I said, look, I've worked here for 10 years. You trust me. You consider me to be effective. Here is what I'm good at. Here are the things that I know I can add value that you need, and here's where you need it. There was this project, a YouTuber project, so for content creators that didn't have an owner. It was not in New York City, which was a big deal, and I was in New York City, and I went to her and I said, no, that is a project that I can lead. I can do that because of all these things, right? I love building, creating, and making. In this case, we were bringing together 12 different creators, building them studios, and giving them a chance to create their own videos about the Google Assistant. Real impact on real people. First of all, we paid them all. They all got paid really well. That's impacting people. And then their followers were impacted because this content meant something to their followers. Anytime you're doing any kind of production, especially if there's so many creators involved, it's chaotic. And I love the act of working with other people to bring things together and make things make sense of things. And then it gave me a leadership opportunity to run a team, to run an agency, and bring it all together. So this is a real world example of how these tenets came into play for me. And then it got even better because once I convinced them of that, they let me join the social lab team. And from there, I realized that knowing my tenets and also this where I started feeling like I'm not being creative enough, I was limiting myself because something had always drawn me to the world of operations. But if you asked me back then, there's absolutely nothing creative about operations. The truth is that all operations is problem solving, working with people. It's all these things that I love. It's building and creating and making. It's impacting people at the office. It's making sense of chaos, and it's leading. So again, like this kind of consistent thinking led me to become basically a director of operations of Social Lab at Google. And that was kind of how I spent my sunset years at the place. And then, unsurprisingly, coaching also relates to these tenets. Of course it does, because that's what I do now. And I think now I'm at the kind of highest expression of my tenets. And coaching, that's all we're doing is building and creating and making. The client comes to me and there's something that they want to do different. There's some change they want to make. There's something that they want to bring into the world. That's that first tenet. This is like number one, right? Like when I work with a client, my objective is to make their lives better and to impact them. So I get a bullseye on that one if I'm doing my job right. Channeling chaos into order, chaos is like a harsh word if we're thinking of coaching, but it's true. People come to me and their lives are chaotic. They feel totally boundaryless. They feel exhausted. They feel like nothing makes sense. They feel like they're not spending the time they want to spend. That's all in that world of chaos. And I can come in and help people make sense of that. And leadership, a coach as a leader, I think that's a fair assessment. But I'd say this is not the strongest of the tenets in coaching, but it exists. Even doing workshops like this, gives me a chance to kind of, stand up and offer to help people. So that is leading me to today, to this moment. And to quickly recap what we have covered, there's 3 main things that we went over. Ask questions to neutralize blockages and get rid of that S word, the should word. Focus on the impact on you first, not the results. Focus on what it is about your work that makes you excited and light up. And then finally, define from doing that work, define and speak to those tenets. Articulate them. Tell the world, tell yourself first, and then tell the world what it is that makes you tick. And bonus, this is something that we need to do all the time as you go, paying attention. What new things light you up? What new things have impact on you? You know, those tenets can change over time. We have all kinds of new experiences all the time that teach us new things about ourselves. So it's important to always be noticing and keeping in mind that, you know, something new may be impacting you that you don't realize. And another important note is that this isn't an overnight kind of a thing. It's not a switch, it's a flashlight. So these frameworks that I'm offering you, they are a starting point. It's an invitation to you to say, it's an invitation to ask you to look more closely, to open your eyes, to notice what's stressing you out, to notice what expectations you have for yourself that are real or not real. It's asking you to look into inquire and to inquire about what it is that really makes you tick about your work and what lights you up. And it's an ongoing process. I'm still doing it constantly. It took me about a couple years to get out of that rut at Google. It took me a couple more years to get to coaching. It's a lifelong journey. And I can recap it one last time. The core belief of this session: the more that we can connect to what impacts us about our work, the more impact we can have via our work. So if there's one thing I want to leave you with, it's that. And that brings us to questions. This went faster than I thought it would, probably because I had 2 coffees. But we do have a lot of time now for questions. I've said a lot of things, and I am here to have a discussion. So does anyone have any questions?
It was great. I love that.
Okay, thank you.
I have several pages of notes.
Was I breathing? Like, I don't, was it fast?
But you definitely did it faster than in
Yeah.
than in our previous one. So we've got a thumbs up from Shane, which is great. Thank you, Shane. So yes, feel free to unmute yourself. Oh, Lauren is raising her hand. Lauren, we'll start with you.
Hey, Lauren.
So much for this presentation. I was wondering if you could go all the way back to sort of the step 1, the 3 questions to ask. Is it within my control? What are the actual thoughts surrounding it? And then the third part, how do I want it to be different? And you talked about, like, don't think about it in terms of like, what's my dream job? And I was wondering if you could slow that third part down and describe it a little more for us.
Great question. Let me use my example to do that. So in this case, it was about being curious. It was I knew I needed something to be different. And something like a dream job would be in that category, right? But that's like way over here. But I had this feeling that something needed to be different, and getting closer to understanding how I wanted to be different, that's where the data was for me. So for example, I knew I wanted to feel more connected to my creativity. And the counter to that is where I was stuck, which is I'm not being creative at work. So this is it's the inverse. I want to feel more connected to my creativity. I consider myself a creative person. I would hope that in my work, I can express that part of myself. I want to feel more connected to that. This next one is a baseline. I want to be happier at work. Like, that's obvious. But when you're stuck and you're just kind of head down, like, you don't think about that. You think about how miserable you are, and you think about, you know, everything that's wrong. I want to be valued and seen for my contribution. That's another big one. Was it that I was in the wrong job, or was it that I wasn't delivering the results that I wanted? Like, I'm not sure if those are the right questions. The thing that I knew was that I wanted whatever work I was doing, I wanted it to make me have value to the company or the people that I was working with. And then the last one is I want to know and be able to articulate what I'm good at, because at that point when I was so low, I couldn't tell you what I wanted to be. I couldn't tell you what my dream job was. That was way too far up here. I had to figure out first, like, how do I understand and talk about what I'm good at? So think of these as primer questions, so that as you start to look at the positives or the things that really impact you, you've kind of made some room. So this isn't gonna eliminate anything. It's more to, like I said, neutralize and kind of just give you some room to think about how you want to feel and how you want to be. Does that answer the question?
Thanks, that was really helpful. Thanks,
Okay.
Michael.
Of course. Any other questions today?
I don't see any yet, but do you mind backing up again? Oh, wait, Greg, we've got Greg. Go ahead, Greg.
Awesome.
Greg.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks so much for sharing this. Totally appreciate it. So question for you. And thank you for your candor and sharing your your personal adventure and your story. I'm wondering if maybe share a little bit of detail, if you could, for some of maybe the other clients that you've worked with and who have helped, who may not have had the luxury of being in an existing job, in an existing org, and pivoting within that org, but rather are maybe like, they're leaving a company altogether, or let's say maybe they're not even working anywhere.
Yeah.
How maybe this methodology might be a little bit different, or if you could just maybe kind of speak to a little bit of that, because I imagine in general the methodology is somewhat the same, but if someone is really kind of just taking stock of like, oh my God, like I'm not working, or I totally hate where I work and what I'm doing, how might you describe that?
Absolutely. Great question. And that is something that I'm sure it's not surprising to you that a lot of clients come to me about. And what we do first is, instead of just going, okay, we're making you a plan to get the hell out of there, which even if that's the goal, the very first thing we do is we say, okay, how do we get you at least feeling a little bit more boundaried and in control while you're in this place? Maybe even like 10% more than you do now, so that we can get you to a place where you're able to be a little bit more expansive, so that we can then think about, like, what are you really good at? What do you really care about? Kind of like the impact part of the work that I'm talking about here. The difference is that I find that if we go from the, I don't know what I'm doing, I hate this place, I gotta get out, a lot of rash decisions can come from that. And sometimes, if it's that bad, we can work with that. But my hope and my goal with every client is that first we get them to a baseline where they feel better, so that from there they can start to decide where it is they want to go. And another thing I'll tell you is, even if people are not as unhappy as you're describing, when they come to me, they often think they know where they want to go. And for me, if I'm going to be the best coach I can be, I'm going to show them something, or I'm going to help them see something that's even better than where they thought they were going to go. That's how I know I'm doing a good job. But we can't get there. We can't get to that kind of spacious thinking if it's just hunkered over of like how terrible everything is and I got to get the hell out of here. Do you have a follow-up on that, or just?
I do. It's somewhat of a different question.
Okay.
I think I saw maybe someone else raise their hand, so I don't want to be too selfish, but you know what? Actually, let me be a little bit selfish, if you don't mind. Quick follow-up.
Sure.
At some point, like for example, hey, like, man, I'm 50, I got 2 kids, I got a mortgage, I'm blessed with all of these things.
Yeah.
There are the financial considerations also of hey, I want to, hey, I've been successful in what I'm doing, and I'm not looking to necessarily abandon my whole career path, but at the same time, there are elements of what I do that are maybe not as fulfilling, or just what's meaningful for me, and the impact that I want to achieve is somewhat different. At the same time, there are practical financial realities. I'm wondering, how, when you're working with some of your clients, how do you filter in for that to make sure that, hey, if I'm going to take somewhat of a pivot, it's not ignoring some of those realities that need to be accounted for?
Such a great question. And I'd say there are a couple tactical approaches we take. And again, like what you're asking, these are literal, most clients are asking these questions. A couple of things. First, I start with a question that helped me. I told you that I got certified as a coach in 2018. I didn't leave till 2013. That was a long time. I knew I wanted to leave a long time ago. But what held me back was, I said, well, I need to match my Google salary. Like on day one, there's no way I'm leaving. Like everything that we have is going to fall apart. I need to make that Google salary. And that kept me there for years. And what changed it for me was when I asked myself, what does the life that I want cost? And again, that may sound fluffy, but it actually helped me. And what I discovered was, yes, the life that I want is still expensive, but it's not this, it's not that Google level. And also it gave me a number to look at. And then from there, I could get very specific. And so I worked on a budget. What do I spend money on? Where is our money going? What does our savings look like? We hired a financial advisor to help us figure out, what would it look like if I were to reduce my salary, and what would the ramp be to get back to retirement? Like, we would go into those kind of tactical places. I would never recommend that someone just, ups and quits. And so, and I don't think you have to, because there's tactical ways that you can approach it. And that really helped me. And so that's what I do with my clients. It's basically that same formula of like, what is the life you want cost? And that includes, like, in my life, living here, having an apartment in New York City, having 2 dogs, traveling to France every single year. Like, all those things are the life that I want. And I had to back out of that. And I had to say, okay, my husband can contribute this. Our house can contribute this. The hole that I have to fill is this. And that was a lot more reasonable for me than I have to replicate my Google salary.
Thanks for sharing that, Michael. Really appreciate your candor.
Of course. Okay, so Elena.
We have 2. One is read Elena's. Yep, I'll read Elena's, and then we have another one in the Q&A, actually. So Elaine is asking, should we always focus on the positive, so to speak, or can it also be helpful to reflect on projects we've hated, things that we don't like about our work, etc.?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's part of this, like, should part that I was talking about. There's a lot of information in the things that we dislike and hate. There's a ton. But I think also it can be a little cloudy if we're like, we need a framework, we need like a lens. If you think of it like, I want to think about the negatives in order to help me get information, I think it's a very healthy approach versus just like listing out all the things that I hate. It's not part of my, like, the way that I did it necessarily, but it was part of the first phase of how I was kind of releasing some of the beliefs, the limited beliefs that I had, or the areas that I felt were not enough for me. So I don't know, let me see if that answers the question. The answer is yes. I'd say, like, it would be useful. You may not end up with tenets, but you probably would get some information. I think that's what my answer would be. Final answer.
All right, so another question for you. Similar to Greg's question, my should was different. I should hang on in my job until the pension kicks in. I'm so close. I wonder what tools you suggest for situations that are more complex than the job itself. When to stay and when to jump. How to balance with family responsibilities. When to adapt and when not to. And I think you answered some of that with that second question that Greg asked. But I don't know if you have more to say about that. And it was kind of long, so if you want me to repeat it, I can.
I think I got the gist of it. I think it's elements that I described together, maybe in a different order. So first is what I said, my first answer, working with clients that are really unhappy. How do we get them to a baseline so that they can at least feel better about their work situation, and healthier about it, and maybe get some better habits, so that from there we can think more broadly. So that's the first thing. I think second would be really looking at the numbers. If you're really close to retirement, what does that actually mean? What are you giving up if you leave early? What do you gain if you stay? Those kinds of things. And then also looking at your budget and all of that. I think another component, if you have a family, is real conversations with your partner, real conversations with your kids, discussing what it would look like if you do make those changes. That comes to mind off the bat, but it was a bigger question. So are there other parts? If that person wants to maybe, if they have other questions, let me know. Sorry.
Okay. All right. So we have another question in the chat. Once we have discovered our why, what is your strategy for defining the ideal job and the plan to get there?
Beautiful. Great question, Filomena. Then we get into roll up our sleeves mode, and we look at, we take the data, the why data, and then we say, okay, what does that apply to? If my tenants, like I just gave you the example of mine and how it matched with operations role, and it also matched with the coaching role. We would look at, okay, well, in this industry, or this thing that came up in our work that's very specific, this is a terrible example, but like I want to make and sell pottery. I don't know why I'm thinking about that, but we would use the data that we had, and then we would look across like industries that we had been in, industries that we were curious about, and then we would work together to experiment So probably if you were my client, I would ask you to reach out to a few people that are maybe in the industry that we're focusing on or in the role, and interviewing them and getting to know what they want, or what their life is like, what their experience is like, get information from that. Maybe we would have you start like create some content creation, like writing a blog post about a certain area of interest that you have. It really depends on the client, but basically we take the whys and we take all of the values, your values, and then we put a structure around how we experiment and how we kind of explore to get you on the next path that you want to get on. Yeah.
All right. Good answer. I think the career exploration piece is sometimes hard. So talking to people, of course, we always recommend that. But I like the idea of like an exercise, like blogging. That's different. Yeah, it's different. It pulls it out of you.
Well, and there's a lot of other things too. Like when I mentioned articulation, we would write your story. We like a lot of times I have clients write their about page, even if they don't have a business yet, or even if they're not planning on being an entrepreneur. What does your about page say? Like, what do you offer the world? Like we start creating things that help us get closer to something that's real.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I don't see any more questions right now, and we are 4 minutes away. So this would be the time, if you have a question for Michael, to either throw it in the chat. You can unmute yourself. I do have my Q&A open. So Michael's got his info there on the screen. And I should mention, oh, there we go. Who do we have?
Question for you, Michael. Thank you for this. This is, in a way, a follow-up to Jimena's question. Let's say you have a client who has a plan, they have a strategy, they recognize they're stuck. There is fear holding them back from taking action. How do you help those clients move forward?
We go right into the fear. So we first ask the fear, like, what does it have to say? We get really close and intimate with it. Sometimes I have my clients name it, like my fear is named, I give it the name Walter. And the reason I do that is because when I have those thoughts, I immediately can assign them to Walter, and that takes them out of my head. So it's not me. It's like, it's a tool to help you remember that your thoughts and yourself are different. And so when it's Walter, it helps it be separate. And I can look at it and I can go, okay, what am I really afraid of? Or like, what is the data there? What's the information Walter's trying to give me if I'm afraid of, I don't know, pitching my next workshop or whatever it may be. So that's one example, but getting close to your fear, naming it, exposing it, taking away its power, that's the first thing we would do.
Great, thank you.
We will remember Walter from this.
Yes, everyone should pick a name for their inner saboteur. Okay, and there's another question. I'm lucky to have started a new job in an exciting, impact-focused space, and I have a lot of fresh new energy to commit, yet my colleagues have grown jaded, cynical. Okay, yes. Interesting. And that echoes to me Google, because I have a lot of friends that are still at Google after all these layoffs, and the new people coming in are, fresh-faced and excited, and the older folks are kind of like, they're like clinging on to the past. And I'd say, be yourself, like be as real as you can be. So don't hold back if you're feeling optimistic, or if you're feeling if like you see an opportunity for something that could be different. I'd say focus on relationship building. So get to know them, make sure that they understand, that you're a safe coworker. Try to build a relationship with them. For yourself internally, acknowledge that your experience and their experience is going to be different anyway, or no matter what. And you probably aren't going to change how they feel. So then the question is, what do you need? Like, what would your requirements be to feel good about showing up at work and doing the work you're doing? And being really articulate about that. And that's something you can do like right now, right after this call. You can say, like, the things I'm committed to doing, being how I show up at work are X. And so because you can't affect them, you can only really affect yourself. Focus on that.
I like that. Safe coworker. Is that what you said? Safe colleague.
Totally. All right.
Well, I think we're at 2. We're at 2, and I don't see any more questions right now. So.
Okay. Well,
This was amazing. This was great.
thank you so much. I'm glad that we used the full hour, and if you have follow-up questions or there was something that maybe you didn't want to ask to the group, you can email me. You can set up time. I'm happy to have an intro call with you to understand where you're at, what you may need. And yeah, I'm here. And you're jumbos after all, so we got to stick together.
Well,
Okay.
great. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'll
Mhm.
send out the link to the video. We taped it. It'll be on our YouTube channel. I'm hoping within a week. So I'll
Great.
send that link out to everyone. And thank you so much, Michael. We
Thank
loved
you.
it.
Thank you for the
And
opportunity. I'm so grateful that you wanted to hear from me. Thank you.
yeah, and we'll bring you back for another topic.
Great. I'm ready.
Right. All right.
Okay, bye. Thank you.
All right.